name is TF2 Public Fair on Alarmcopter's server of Joyous Win.
Hello.
And today we're in the quite noisy Sawmill, CTF Sawmill that is. As you know, it's one of the very few CTF maps. I think it's actually pretty good. I mean, Turbine's good, but beyond that, oh wait, no, well, there's also the extra lovely double cross. I think, you know, the giant map with the giant bridge. We need to get that up and running, actually.
Yeah, this map's kind of an odd one because, you know, I tend to think of CTF maps as, you know, being fairly large in the grand scheme of things, but, you know, this does use all of the map, but I suppose quite sensibly, they've got the these little side barns with the doors blocked off, and it kind of feels a bit restrictive compared to, you know, like a standard arena map of this, where you can go anywhere and everywhere. But I get why they've done it, but it also seems a bit weird on a CTF map to have that.
Yeah, that you can't go around the sides, you can't flank too hard, you have to go through the middle. It does. To be honest, I don't know why they did that, because I'm a bit more hostile to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you can see straight away there, Bad kind of proving you doesn't really matter that you can't get through there because you can just rocket jump over it anyway. It's such a mediocre sort of defense, putting a door or putting something in the way of the door when you can just jump over the fence regardless. You know, if they made an invisible wall, perhaps it would have made sense, but, you know, either do it all or don't do it at all.
Well, I think actually that ramp up there actually explains the problem. It's supposed to be a one-way door, so basically the team's, you know, native side can get out, but anybody else trying to come in has to use some sort of trickery. Now we're Detective Mister gets a scooter loop, playing. Yeah, that's pro COD mode right there. Crouch down and use SMG as hard as you can. Unfortunately, this is not COD. What do you mean, unfortunately? Fortunately, it's not COD. Anyway, there goes the intel. Raby College just picks that off straight away. He is really managing to, like, just kind of get out of the way. That nope. Oh wow, that was like a cleaver kill. I mean, I love those things.
That is one of those few weapons where, if you get a kill, especially in conjunction with you know, a decent Sandman ball, that is one of those things. You know, it does take skill. It's sort of the thing people don't really know. Sort of the timing and the arc of it and stuff like that. It is one of those lesser used weapons, and it's impressive to see it go down, even if most of the time it is just a fluke.
Yeah, so it's just like that lovely feel of that crit damage. The one thing I was going to take in question is Bad. Yeah, experimental weapon, and you're doing the mid-air blast jumps with it. I am not sure your definition of experimental is our definition of experimental.
Either way, it's impressive to see.
And then, nope. I think they planned for that.
See, the thing is with this area, had they kept that doorway there, I think this area would get played a lot more, but it would also have a much greater presence for defense as well. I mean, you know, you'd have sort of status quo areas for engineers to build and stuff like that. And because they haven't got that doorway, it pretty much locks off everybody except Demomen and soldiers, and it's kind of a shame because, you know, it is a nice area and it could be used really well. I don't think it would have been that much of an advantage for an attacking team to have that doorway there anyway.
Yeah, the thing yeah, it is a slightly weird thing. I mean, I like it because you can get in and around and flankiness. I think they want you people to use the Sawmill a bit more. And that's, I think, kind of the problem with things like Hoodoo. Actually, if you take Hoodoo, it's very much a flanky, sidey map, and they get away with that, especially with Double Cross, is the map I'm correct about, where you've got this giant bridge to go over the middle of. They don't like it, you're going around the sides. And they do make it quite inconvenient. Both teams really trying to dig out their intels at the moment. Quite difficult. I mean, part of the problem with actually getting in there, this is one of the very few tight areas of indoorishness for TF2. You don't have tight space indoor areas, really, except like vents and stuff.
Yeah, to be honest, it is one of those it's another one of those places as well, which, you know, quite odd for a CTF map in general, that the entrance to the intel, there is literally, obviously there's multiple ways of getting into there in the first place, but the actual room itself, there is only one entrance. As far as I'm aware, in fact, every other intel room has at least one entrance. I know this is sort of kind of several rooms posing as one room, but the main room itself, it's just a single doorway, and that's quite odd, really. Generally, it's sort of the kind of thing where you can almost protect it with one sentry, and perhaps that's why this map never gets played, purely because in regards to design, it isn't perhaps the one that lends itself as well to CTF as much as Double Cross or Turbine do. Yeah,
to be fair, I'm looking at this and it just doesn't seem as fun. I think this is much more built towards a Koth map with the saw blades. And that's why I think it's a general problem with the Sawmill map as is. It's only really suited to one game type, and CTF is not so well suited to it. Scarbox, yeah, they're on the move up. Nope. Try and went the other way in. Oh yeah, it's the staircase. Thing is, to be fair though, I mean, if you get an engineer in here and they just start building up, then you're in real trouble. Trying to break into your own base with a one-way entrance is so... oh dear. No, I think the airstrike, actually, I mean, if you max that out, it can be quite devastating. And I think if you use something like a, I don't know, crits damagey kind of thing, that can be quite fun.
Yeah, airstrike is one of those weird ones where you definitely need the weapon as it is on its own before you get any kills or anything like that is, to be honest, a pile of crap. But you kind of have to use it properly to be able to use it properly, if you follow what I mean. It's sort of the same with the escape, not the escape plan, the whatever that new shotgun is that no one likes. It's the same sort of thing. You have to learn how to use it before you can actually properly use it. And yeah, panic attack, that's the one. It is kind of a... I kind of like that they've got these options for weapons, but there are better things to use if you just want to actually kill someone with ease.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Thing is that they do kind of update these things. The short circuit, I mean, the original short circuit was an awful, awful weapon. Nobody ever used it. Then they buffed it out of its arse, and suddenly calls for nerfing. Other weapons, I mean, again, there are quite a few weapons. You can take the Winger, for example, and the Soda Popper. Then a lot more fun to use now, rather than being alternatives, and I kind of like that whole thing. But the weapon they definitely need to sort out is the third degree, because it needs something else to make it fun.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a weird one actually, because I mean, technically it is just a straight upgrade to the standard fire axe, but generally, I know the drop rate isn't really much to factor into it, but most people tend to find like the power jack or the home wrecker before they'll find a drop of the third degree, and by that point, generally I think a lot more people are more inclined to go for something that has a negative but also has a very interesting downside than they are to just a straight upgrade, because it sort of suits more to a lot of people's playstyles. Kind of like the amputator compared to the bone saw, and then the uber saw compared to the bone saw.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Back to the game a little bit. Blue's actually managed to get the intel out, but nobody's... oh, okay, that Rabid Collie's finally picked it up. I think we saw Zydran go over it there, but one of the things people kind of forget about the sticky jump and the rocket jumper, you can't pick up the intel. Very interesting little exception there.
To be honest, on a map like this, it is probably a good reason. It's a good thing. I mean, especially on Double Cross as well. You just get wins like that, but much faster.
Okay, game 2. I want to say round 2. Little games, really. Now, anyway, I mean, trying to think of a tactic for this map in particular, and it just seems to be... Well, this is the problem. This is why I don't really go on with CTF maps so much. They can actually be quite undramatic, and this one's a very short map. So there's not really much for engineers to do, and snipers are a little bit of a hard time as it is, and in the middle. And Jossman there, not sure what happened, but suddenly everything he had got destroyed. See ya, NC. anyway. Thing is, that's the thing I do tend to find sometimes, you know, with some of these smaller games, you can actually have good engineering, but it's you have to find those places a lot harder now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure who it was. I think it was Scarvio managed to take down, I believe, I'm not sure who it was, Blue Engineer's Sentry, and yeah, it was an okay place for the Sentry, but you know, like I said, you know, it is a single route in there, and it is also quite a small room. So a Sentry, if you get it at the right time, you can make your way towards a Sentry if it's in the intel room before it even has a chance to turn to you, and that's, you know, that is more of a, I guess, a design flaw of the map. But you kind of need to obviously balance your building placements alongside that. There are good ideal spots in this area, which I so far haven't seen anybody use.
So one thing I just noticed, Ice Pig there, someone managed to avoid the entire carnage of one team and actually take the intel home. That was some inspiring maneuver work there from one spy. But yeah, the thing is though, I mean, really there should be like just a big fat ass sentry somewhere. I mean, actually where I put it is where the banker PCs and the glass door is. Just aim it out, because that way it's in range of everything and you can't get to the intel without going through that sentry. And you're face first into it, so it's a kind of an easy one. But this is again the kind of problem we have with 2-Fort, where it's just, oh god, no, they just put everything in the main room again. 2-Fort worst map EU.
Yeah, the problem is with placing it where I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure what, who the engineer on Blue was, but placing it where they had it, you know, someone like a scout does technically have the chance to run around it and sort of abuse the sentry's slow turn speed, and they can kind of get in and out without having to worry about it, or with a very small amount of damage. And that's kind of the problem with that build area in general. You know, it is good for slower classes, but scouts, you know, a clued up scout can take advantage of it quite easily.
There's one thing I'm beginning to think of here, actually. You know, for more engineering, aggressive engineering, actually. There is a very redundant part of the map which actually, you know, if a skilled engineer gets into and starts bastardizing. That little kind of tunnel area there, you know, the one that goes right around the side. I mean, if you actually build your sentry somewhere a bit on the curve and with the teleporter, you can actually get the guys right round the back of the enemy base and then just funnel them straight into the enemy cap room.
Yeah, that would be an ideal place, actually. You know, make sure everybody is aware. Using team chat, make sure everybody's aware that you are planning an attack, and just have everybody just chill out in there for a while. That, with a large group, that would be very, very good to see happen. You know, you'd pretty much be guaranteed complete control of that intel room.
Kyoto robot waifu, brave as ever. Oh, that dies there. I mean, again, heavy attempts to take the intel. I'm not sure if desperate times or you do what you gotta do, but, you know. Dank techies, using the riot shotgun as well. Ah, nope. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Get away from that mini at least. And yeah, that intel is actually really, you know, struggling its way back. Why is the medic running the wrong way? You know, that moment where it's like, the guys with the intel is like, move towards our area. Why are you holding up? See you later, Davey.
One thing actually I've sort of noticed about this map is that once you get it sort of into that mid sawmill room, if you can get it to, you know, your half of the room, you're almost guaranteed that the cap is going to go through perfectly. I mean, you know, there's a lot of difficulty in getting it past the sort of first stairway and everything coming out of the intel room, obviously because you're right next to a spawn door. But once you're out there, once you're on the other side, it's very, very difficult for the other team to catch up, and I think that is part of the reason why this map isn't as popular as Turbine, because Turbine, you can take advantage of it a lot easier. Oh, there we go, and red wins.
Yeah, another tricky use of the Beggar's Bazooka there by Bad again. Cheeky bugger.